Is the new Black Stone Cherry album Screamin' at the Sky worth a listen? Let's find out. Hey everybody, it's Nick here with you. Welcome back to the Rock Squad channel. And welcome to my rock album review for the new album from Black Stone Cherry. It's called Screamin' at the Sky. Screamin' at the Sky is Black Stone Cherry's 8th studio album and the follow-up to 2020's The Human Condition. And I have to admit, I've never really listened to a lot of Black Stone Cherry. I don't know their albums. I've listened to very few of their songs over the years, but I always thought they had a great rock and roll band name, you know? Black Stone Cherry, we're a real rock and roll band with beards and shit. Black Stone Cherry, Blackberry Smoke, Buck Cherry. If you have some sort of fruit berry in your band name, you know you're a real fucking rock and roll band. So I went into listening to Screamin' at the Sky expecting some southern rockers from Kentucky playing some big riffs with some smoky vocals, and that's precisely what I got. And that's not a bad thing. I love me some southern rock. I'm a huge fan of the Black Crowes, Allman Brothers, Tedeschi Trucks Band, Lynyrd Skynyrd, and the list goes on. At least these guys are actually from the South. They're from Kentucky, so they're not a couple of northern boys faking it playing southern rock. And at their core, Black Stone Cherry are a great southern rock band who essentially write the same song over and over again for the majority of this album's track list. And there are some definite standout tracks on Screamin' at the Sky. Out of Pocket is a really strong single, a really great rock track in general, probably my favorite song on the record. I felt that lead vocalist, Chris Robertson, not Chris Robinson from Black Crowes, Chris Robertson for Black Stone Cherry has a great smoky country tinge voice that is really easy to listen to. And there's some great emotional lyrical content from Chris Robertson as well. There's no way that you can say that this guy isn't putting his heart and soul into this record, and he has an emotional lyrical style that draws people in. I can see why Black Stone Cherry fans are such big fans. There's lots of hooks on this album to dig into. There's the title track Screamin' at the Sky, there's Nervous, there's Smile World, When the Pain Comes, and the final track You Can Have It All, which I thought was a great closing track to the album and one of the stronger tracks on the record. And the riffs on this album, they are good. They are very well done. They're kick-ass, they're heavy, but they all tend to blend into one another, and none of them, to me, the riffs were especially unique or memorable. It just makes me wonder, with so many great rock bands on the earth, how many drop D riffs do we have left in the universe? What happens when we run out of drop D riffs? What happens then? The end of rock and roll as we know it, that's what. And there are some really ripping solos on this album as well from Chris Robertson and Ben Wells. From what I understand, they both do leads on this record. They know how to kick ass on the 6 strings, and the solos, they sound great. But as much as I was enjoying the singles, which I feel are the best tracks on the album, I have to admit that I was losing steam towards the end of listening to this record. There are unfortunately some filler tracks on Screamin' at the Sky. Tracks like Roar, Who You Are Today, and Not Afraid all came and went without making a huge impression on me. Don't get me wrong, this is a very well written and performed record, but right from the start, it just shifts into a specific gear and stays there for the majority of the track list. But I think with this band, like with any band, if you're a Black Stone Cherry fan, I feel like you're really going to enjoy this record from front to back. And if you're somebody like me and this is your first time listening to a Black Stone Cherry record from front to back, 8 albums in, things can sound a little bit samey as you get into the later songs on the record. There aren't a lot of dynamics on here. It's pretty much turned up to 11 right from the get-go, which is not a bad thing. If you love to rock out, Black Stone Cherry definitely delivers on that front. But if you're a fan of more dynamic stuff, it can get to be a little bit of a tiring listen. It's an album tailor-made for the active rock radio market. You got the big riffs, you got the big melodies, and no song on this album clocks in at over 4 minutes. Everything's in the 3:30 to 4 minute range. So every song is created for maximum radio potential, even the album tracks. I found the album to be very formulaic, but if you're a fan of Black Stone Cherry, if you're a fan of this kind of rock, they definitely deliver on that front. It's the type of album that you can rock out to in your car, and they really just do provide the maximum amount of rock required for this record, and they did a good job. But for me, there was only a track or two that I really enjoyed that I would take away from this listening experience and listen to in the future. I'm going to give the new album from Black Stone Cherry, Screamin' at the Sky, a 3 out of 5. Black Stone Cherry, if you have a fruit berry in your name, you know you're a real fucking rock and roll band. I'm sure they don't sound like that. All right, guys, that is it. That is my rock album review for the new album from Black Stone Cherry called Screamin' at the Sky. Let me know what you thought of the record in the comments below. Make sure to like this video if you like this review. If you like the channel, subscribe to us, and don't miss out on future videos. Follow us on social media on TikTok and Instagram at Rock Squad Pod, and I'll see you again for another rock album review here on the Rock Squad channel. Until then, rock on, everybody.